All right. Now that you've watched that first presentation on Crisis of Art, we're going to focus on one particular artist, Robert Rauschenberg. He was a pop artist working mostly in the 1960s and 70s and did some collages and background information. He was born in 1925, 1 year before my dad, so he's about my dad's age. This is probably him in the 1960s. He died in 2008. He was born in Texas, and then he moved to New York City, which was the art capital of the world. There was a clip of him when the Alexander Calder gave him rent money. That was part of that video we watched first semester. He helped him out when he was a young struggling artist. Made it big in New York City, then moved to Florida to do his work for the rest of his life. He worked as a painter, a sculptor, and a printer, silkscreen prints mostly. He developed a new type of art by combining paintings with sculptures called combines. He called them combines. Early on, because he didn't have a lot of art materials, he just found objects on the street to work with. So you can see some of the things, it looks like it was almost like garbage that he had put into his art. To describe his art, you might call him a neo-Dadaist. We just talked about Dadaism as something kind of silly and ridiculous, absurd, satirical. And a pop artist uses images from popular everyday image in their artwork. You could also say that his artwork has surreal qualities because he has realistic things often put in unreal situations in some of his work. Let's take a look at some of his work here. So you'll answer a question here. Look at this. You see collage, lots of images. You see paintings. You see a stuffed chicken. You see architectural, looks like a leg of a piano in these boxes here. It's called a combine. And if you put all these images together, it's kind of like a combination of a reflection of what was going on in his life, what images he was seeing, and he was expressing those things out. Here is kind of an abstract painting laying on the floor, and on top of it, there's a stick, a stuffed goat that has, not a real one, but it has a paint on its face with a tire around it, calling it monogram. So it's kind of surrealistic in some ways, or certainly ridiculous in some other ways. Here we have another kind of abstract painting, but on the painting you have this stuffed raven, and then this bag of sand suspended below it. And images of a small child here, and if you look carefully, this is like a tin metal can flattened out. So it's kind of a combination of two-dimensional and three-dimensional things called canon. And then Robert Rauschenberg got into this whole silkscreen things where he was putting these images, and he would make more than one print of these. So these is images of the day around New York City. You can see the Statue of Liberty and a bunch of buildings and street signs and things. Kind of interesting composition. Here you might see somebody famous if you know that image. Whoops, let's go back. That was John F. Kennedy. This was from the space program as a spaceship was getting ready to splash down. You see his hand here repeated over here. An eagle, an image of our country, Coca-Cola signs, keys, other. Look really hard, you can start seeing, the more you look, the more you see a helicopter here from Vietnam. So you got some interesting things going on here. Here's another. This is after JFK has been killed. You can see his face here, that same type of image. See like machine parts or parts of furniture and other things, Native American, whole bunch of collection of images. And it's up to you, the viewer, to put them together. It's kind of like the things that were new at the time, big freeway bridges and things like that. Here's the one we're going to really focus on. It's called Signs. So we're going to give you some information about this. It's a silkscreen print, which means he made more than one copies of these. So he made 250 of these and he signed them all, so he could sell them all and make more money if you have more than one to sell. Basically, it was a summary of the 1960s failures and accomplishments. You see Janis Joplin, the Kennedy brothers, Martin Luther King, all who died in the 1960s. Janis Joplin was a pop singer, died of a drug overdose. John F. Kennedy died in 1963 by an assassin shooting him. His brother, who was running for president in 1968, was also assassinated. Martin Luther King was killed in 1968. Here you have images of somebody who looks like he was beaten, maybe during a civil rights march. You have the images from the 1968 Olympics. the Black Power symbol there, images from Vietnam, and then you got the person landing on the moon. So these are kind of the big events of things that happened in the 1960s. It's kind of a montage of 1960s, Vietnam and assassinations and pop music, moon landings and things like that. He said that this print was conceived to remind us of love, terror, violence of the last 10 years. Danger lies in forgetting. So what the whole point of this is for you to think about what images might you want to put in a COVID-19 collage collection of images. What kind of things might be appropriate for you and your time at this time? So here's the whole thing here. And I'll just show you, I have a question here about that. And I'm going to give you the assignment, basically just an overview here real quick. You're going to be doing this in the next steps. You'll be creating an art using Google Drawing, using images and symbols from the internet to create an original composition. You can manipulate the size of the images, the color, the position, and the transparency like you did maybe with your, some of you guys did that with your your boxes in Google Drawing 1-point perspective. And then you can add any other shapes and forms to embellish your artwork any way you want to. And I'm going to break down, this is one of my examples, but I'm going to break that down in the next videos in the next step here. So good luck with that.